Hello and welcome. I'm Liza Loop, Vision Keeper for the KEPLAIR project. My co-authors have asked me to present their concept paper to attendees at the EDULEARN 21 conference, held virtually on July 5th and 6th, 2021. I'm just going to hit the highlights of the paper in this presentation. Of course, we'd like you to read the whole paper and comment on it profusely. Please be aware that KEPLAIR is a huge undertaking. We're just at the beginning and we can't do it alone. We would like to hear from any and all of you, whether you see yourselves as learners, learner users, educators, researchers, developers, future contributors, partners, or just well-wishers. Our contact information is on the last slide. Many of you will be familiar with the hopes and dreams of the early EdTech pioneers. We thought computing would revolutionize the whole educational process, allowing anyone to learn anything, anywhere. A lot of progress has been made, but we're still a long way from realizing that initial vision, as our recent experience with pandemic-related school closures has made painfully clear. Although we can now deliver a wide variety of educational materials to homes, care facilities, workplaces, libraries, or community and recreation centers, there are still problems to be overcome by both youthful and lifelong learners. One serious challenge is locating the right materials to support the learning of a unique individual, bringing the signal out of the noise, so to speak. There's so much material to learn from that none of us has time to sort it out. To be, quote, right, the material has to engage the learner, capture his or her interest and curiosity. Otherwise, it'll be boring. It has to seem relevant to the goals the learner already has, or to inspire the learner to reach for new goals. To be engaging, it has to be challenging, but neither too easy nor too difficult. Another frequently addressed issue, particularly in formal education, is how to coax students to learn what is set out in the curriculum. There's a growing recognition that all of us learn more easily and rapidly when we feel that we have chosen to do so, autonomously, that we're responding to our intrinsic desires rather than being forced or manipulated. This can be seen as a problem of motivation or can be reframed as choice, independence, or self-determination. As Maria Montessori noted 100 years ago, we are born with absorbent minds. If we can find our way to the right materials in the right context, almost all of us can experience joyful, intrinsically motivated learning. Let's also note that not everyone who wants to learn has access to schools, universities, and teachers. The KEPLAIR project does not aspire to replace these institutions and people. Rather, it will support and augment them. In the tradition of Douglas Engelbart, KEPLAIR is a tool for augmenting human functioning, not an attempt to replace humans with machines. It doesn't teach, it doesn't evaluate, it doesn't tell learners what they ought to learn, it doesn't grant degrees like a school or university, it doesn't design instructional materials or sell them to learners. So what does it do? KEPLAIR helps learners figure out what they want to learn and then works with them to chart paths to those goals. When a person already has a destination in mind, for example, a specific career, a degree, a license, specific skills or topic of study, KEPLAIR can search the internet quickly and efficiently to locate pre-existing guidance on how to get to that goal. Even though the needed information may be readily available in a library or on the internet, it's often difficult and time-consuming to uncover it and choose among the alternatives. Furthermore, today's existing finding aids and catalogs are usually general, not filtered to meet the specific needs and characteristics of a particular learner. The AI in KEPLAIR will be able to analyze the semantic content of some online documents and collect the tags and metadata of others, thereby making it possible to choose, again, the right materials for the right learner. When learners don't yet have a goal or a clear idea of what they want to learn, KEPLAIR engages them in natural language dialogues about their curiosities, interests, and leisure activities. It may even invite them to play a game. Pathways can wander and explore rather than converge. In the KEPLAIR context, success is measured by learner satisfaction and engagement, not by academic or economic accomplishment. Learning to fly fish or to win at Tetris is just as valuable as learning to speak German or to become an astronaut. The next two slides suggest how we plan to do this. KEPLAIR is an artificial intelligence agent. The name KEPLAIR is an acronym for Knowledge-Based Environment for Personalized Learning using an Artificial Intelligence Recommender. To build it, we've started with an ontology, a formal description of the world in which KEPLAIR exists. The contents of KEPLAIR's world are organized into 4 top-level classes, represented by the corners of the tetrahedron on the slide. I've already mentioned the upper corner, the learner's goals, and the paths to these goals or objectives. These can be very broad. Say, I'm interested in finding out more about rocks. Or, quite narrow, I want to get good at solving quadratic equations. Together with the learner, KEPLAIR will build a step-by-step path of activities, lessons, games, and people to talk to get from where the learner is to the stated goal. How does KEPLAIR know which particular activities to recommend? It uses the learner's profile to filter the list of possible activities, leaving only those that match the learner's previous knowledge and skills, demographics, and personal preferences. Like the goal path, the profile is built through natural language dialogue with the learner and from information uploaded with the learner's permission. The lower corner of the tetrahedron, learning objects, represents all the different tools you might use to learn with: books, videos, open educational resources, traditional classes and courses, teachers and coaches, recreational facilities, clubs, makerspaces, even peers, a mixture of online and face-to-face environments. The choices are legion. KEPLAIR's job is to locate and make available the best learning objects for an individual learner. Now look to the right side of the diagram. We physical humans are always somewhere when we're learning. The learner's environment comprises the physical places and its furnishings, the social-emotional context, as well as the digital communication characteristics of a learning activity. By combining goal, learning profile, and learning objects, KEPLAIR identifies accessible and preferred environments most likely to delight an individual learner. A significant part of our research so far has been devoted to populating these 4 classes with educational and psychological concepts, to specifying the relationships among them, and to stating the rules that govern them. This will provide us with a stable ontology and rule base that we can use to devise a system of architecture for our AI. For those of you interested in the details of how KEPLAIR is being designed, I refer you to Dr. Forelli, who is leading this research and development. The diagram illustrates how data flows to the various computational functions that make up KEPLAIR. It actually doesn't show what the user experiences. I'm only going to provide a glimpse of what's behind that curtain. The yellow smileys are, of course, the human users of the KEPLAIR system. At the top, we've shown 2 users, perhaps 2 learners, or maybe a learner and someone acting as a teacher, coach, or advisor. They will be able to interact with each other through the social manager, the gray box on the right. This is an as yet to be designed social media platform. Notice that the social manager feeds information into several other components of the system. Building in strong user privacy protections, as well as information control and data sharing functions, are high priorities in our next phase of research. Users also interact with the learning manager in the management layer, which is labeled KEPLAIR, in the center of the diagram. This logical structure carries on the natural language dialogues needed to develop goals and profiles. It makes recommendations and collects feedback from learners. The smiley on the lower right, labeled supervisor, represents the human staff who oversee and validate the AI decisions. When first launched, KEPLAIR's ability to evaluate and recommend learning objects may be quite limited. However, every user is also KEPLAIR's teacher. As it gains experience through making recommendations and receiving user feedback, it will add to its knowledge base and refine its rules, thereby improving its ability to select personalized learning objects. At first, human supervisors may be heavily involved in training KEPLAIR. As data in all 4 top-level classes, goals, profiles, environments, learning objects, increases the knowledge base, the broader the audience KEPLAIR will be able to serve, and the better targeted its recommendations will become. While KEPLAIR is learning, the external landscape will also be changing. More learning objects and open educational resources will be designed and made available digitally so that they are available to be harvested, that is, located, not necessarily downloaded. Also, Instructional designers will improve the way they describe their offerings with better elaborated metadata. This will contribute to more efficient harvesting and subsequent matching of learning objects to individual learners with widely varied profiles. I'd like to bring our focus back from technical considerations of how KEPLAIR can be implemented to the reasons why we are doing this work. Mechanical and electronic technology has had an enormous impact on the everyday lives and the future prospects of every person on this planet. The role of human muscle, memory, and logic must change with that technology. We can no longer be content to learn to be interchangeable units of labor, transmitters of past culture, or predictors of repetitious processes. Instead, we'll have to develop our individual uniqueness, our creativity, and our capacity for joy. As humans in the developing nations overcome the limitations of extreme poverty, they, like those of us in the industrialized world, are confronted with the freedom to seek outcomes beyond mere survival. Our educational infrastructure needs to support our learning to make personal choices we will find meaningful in the long term. We need to have a chance to experiment with personal satisfaction instead of constantly striving to meet the requirements of others. Our growing freedom includes selecting where we want to be and with whom. It permits us to arrive at the same destination by different pathways and to strike out in new directions. Personalization in KEPLAIR means seeing the learner as the locus of the learning process and trusting that the individual's innate urge toward growth and community will prevail. It preserves the option of conformity to group norms while still supporting independence and innovation. It enables acquisition of basic skills when and as they are perceived as valuable, at the same time as it appeals to each learner's curiosity, interest, confidence, and satisfaction. Let me conclude by thanking you for your interest in the KEPLAIR project. We're a collaboration of 4 independent researcher-developer dreamers who have come together under the umbrella of Loop Center, Inc., a California nonprofit educational corporation, in collaboration with the University of Bari in Italy. Our vision includes you in many capacities, from this embryonic design stage all the way to a global resource for learners everywhere. Please keep in touch with us.